All right, it looks like we are live. So that would be live on. Should start the other one too, because it's a different go live button. Yeah. It's all good. Go, and away we go. All right, we are now live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and TikTok. So welcome to Hypnosis Hero podcast. This is the one and only podcast where you can get hypnotized right through the screen. We make sure that happens at the end of our podcast so that it's better. We talk about it all the time, but it's better for you to actually experience the hypnosis than it is for us to just talk about it and then send you on your merry way. So we provide that experience along with everything that we talk about. So welcome. For those of you that are on LinkedIn and TikTok, I will do my best to juggle those comments because they are separate from the comments that come through Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to switch platforms, now is a really great time to do that. And while you're doing that, if you so choose to, I'm going to welcome my co-host, Mr. Brian Bay.
Hello, hey, good evening, sir. Happy Remembrance Day.
It is, yes. Remembrance Day in Canada, Veterans Day in the U.S.
And I think Armistice Day in the United Kingdom.
I believe that's what they would term it as, because why not be different?
I did a search and it looks like both are acceptable. Remembrance or Armistice.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about Remembrance Day, and if you saw my Facebook post earlier, you would have seen my grandparents. So those are my maternal grandparents. So on mom's side, her mother was the Scottish War Bride in that picture, and Grandpa. Of course, if you didn't notice, and the thing that shocks everybody all the time, Grandpa was black, and so it was an interracial marriage that started in 1946, and endured moving, because Granny literally picked up and moved all 4'11" of her over to Canada. They settled in Ontario and then ultimately came out west here to Saskatoon, where Mom met Dad, and all the stories about the war stopped. So after that, and a lot of the stories, apparently, according to my dad, were about young ladies in France and Italy. So that's all I'm going to say about that, because I'm sure, knowing my grandfather, there was a lot more colorful language used describing describing everything. So that would be the way that he would have rolled. So anyway, they both since passed on, but it's always good to be able to get out and honor the sacrifice that everybody made. And thank you for your service, because I know, we were just talking about the fact that
our countries are allies.
Yeah, we're still buddies.
Yeah. No, we did. God, I remember. God, seems like another lifetime ago, and it seems like it's yesterday at the same time. We did some joint training / celebration with Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, which is like the Canadian version of the U.S. Army Rangers. A lot of like airfield seizures, advanced infantry type stuff, and just wonderful guys, very, very capable, and humble as well. So it was always a lot of fun when they would come down to celebrate Menton Day every middle of December.
Yeah, it's I've seen when the forces get together, and it is more like two brothers wrestling than it is, and wrestling and play fighting than it is, two enemies going at it because we just want to one up the other guy.
Oh yeah, I mean, fierce competition, but in the end, it's all in good fun. Part of the entire week is you know, various shooting competitions, you know, running, physical fitness type stuff. And then they usually cap it off with joint airborne operations. So each country gets the other country's foreign jump wings. And so I think, the requirements are you either have to have a foreign jump master, jump a foreign aircraft, or use the host nation's parachutes.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot of fun. And like I said, you follow that up with a big ball at the end, you know, formal dinner, award ceremony, and it's just really good fellowship. It's almost like a performing hypnosis summit. You know, just everybody gets together, and you know, the special operations community is definitely a small world. But yeah, to everybody who thanks me for my service, I want to equally share my gratitude for you guys paying the bill every April when you pay taxes. So
Yeah, it is. You mentioned the Princess Patricia's. That's a regiment that kind of spans Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba.
mm-hmm.
The two bases, basically, one is in southwest Manitoba or southeast Manitoba. The other one's in just on the other side of Edmonton. So
Yeah,
and so they will regularly roam back and forth.
They're like, it's warmer down here in Washington.
Well, no,
not by much, but
you have to kind of picture this. I'm one of the few people who can actually say yes, I did actually walk uphill both ways to school.
right.
Because when you go down my driveway and then around up the hill to catch the bus and then down and around,
Right.
But from my vantage point where I was just outside of Battleford, and there was a farmer's field at the very bottom of the hill that went to the Battle River, and then you skip over into Battleford. And we woke up one morning, and the military was right there. Tanks, trucks, maneuvers, guys marching up and down, guns everywhere. And for a Canadian, that's quite the sight to see, because that doesn't generally happen.
It's like a combination of like, this is the coolest thing ever, combined with, oh sweet dear God, what has happened now? Who has invaded us?
I did get to sit in a tank, so
yeah,
that's always a nice thing.
Not a lot of room in those things, are there?
No, actually there isn't. So and not very comfortable either.
Yeah. So we see Mark Barris is.
Oh, you're browning out, or I'm browning out. One of the two of us.
It's joining us this evening. You've been pretty excited about her.
Okay, you just got back. Whatever you just said.
Oh, I froze for a second.
Yeah.
So I said, welcome to Mark and Becca.
Yep.
Thank them for joining us. And then you've been excited about our guest. You've been looking forward to this one for quite a minute.
Yeah. We've got a special guest, because that's what we do. We get the best of the best. Even Jim said that. I remember, actually, and the reason I remember is I was teaching a course that I work with the Louisiana State University and the research project that they have going on there. They kept me on to teach a couple extra courses. So, and I use the term course loosely. It's kind of an extra bolt on that. If you're interested in it, you can take it, and if not, no worries, right?
Yeah.
But we were using Bob's videos because I was talking about conversational hypnosis. Okay. So they know who you are. they've seen
oh
Bob,
God,
they've seen Bob reel you in, and then we watched Jim and almost
Jim got the Schwartz.
Almost convinced himself that it was time to have pineapple on pizza. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. We should introduce our guest, though, because Becca says sitting in tanks sounds pretty cool. Yeah, well, it kind of was. It was fall, it was kind of a cooler day, but it was still above zero, so that was good.
Yeah, if the heater's not on, they can get cold fast.
Yep, that is true. All right. So our guest tonight is considered a hypnotist. Gila Zak, certified hypnotherapist, is the creatrix of the gallery process and the two minds technique, and is the author of the teaching manual Handwriting Analysis for Therapists and Coaches. She has an honors graduate. She is an honors graduate of HMI, the College of Hypnotherapy, and a recipient of the prestigious Director's Award, a certified IEMT practitioner. We're going to find out more about that. A sexual freedom practitioner. We'll talk about that. The bunny talk practitioner, and the metaphors of movement facilitator, and also an advanced handwriting specialist. Her passion is espousing on all things hypnotic and helping people improve their relationships with themselves and life through greater understanding of the unconscious motivations that drive us. And don't we all know we have a lot of those? Whether working with clients or teaching fellow professionals, Gila brings warmth, wisdom, and a deep respect for the healing intelligence of the human psyche. Her workshops offer not just information, but transformation, and she maintains a full-time practice. So if you want to hire, if you want to work with, or have Gila work with you, you can do it. She maintains a full-time practice in Los Osos, California. I'm hoping I'm saying that right, Brian.
Oso, California?
OSOS. Is that what it is? Oso? To me, it looks like
we'll find out.
We'll find out. All right. Los Osos, California. And she's a featured presenter at conferences. I know she's spoken. She spoke at Hypnotized. I believe she was at the Michigan conference. I know she's been to Heartland and a few other conferences. And she is a presenter at conferences, of course, and various professional and medical organizations. Please welcome to the Hypnosis Hero podcast. As soon as I find the right sound effects, Ms. Gila Zak.
Oh, that's great. Great. Nice to be here, gentlemen.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
I'm going to adjust things.
How bad did Shawn butcher the city?
Close. It's Gila with a soft G, or you could call me Gila.
I figured that might have been the case. Okay.
That's okay. My close friends just call me G, so that's good.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go. There.
Nice.
And I'm going to be offset so that when we throw up some of the bits and pieces that announce websites and whatnot, they can still see my lovely face.
So is it pronounced Los Osos?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because there's Los Angeles, right? LOS Angeles. Mm-hmm. And then but we say Los Osos. And I don't know if it's because of the mnemonics of it, but instead of saying Los Angeles, which it really is, but yeah, it's Los Osos, if anyone's particularly curious.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. There we go. Now we're starting to get the chat rolling. Okay, all good. Welcome. When I'm reading through your bio, because we want to make sure we have the up-to-date information on everybody, and we're seeing lots of study has dug into this, works with this. Tell us a little bit about some of the different areas there. So we have IEMT practitioner, a sexual freedom practitioner, bunny talk practitioner. We know a little bit about the bunny talk because we have had the bunny lady on before, and actually we'll have her on again probably in February, I think, is when she booked. I'd have to go back and confirm that. And then metaphors of movement and advanced handwriting. Now, I know Mike Mandel talks a lot about what handwriting will reveal, but talk a little bit about what it is that you do in your practice, and then some of the topics that maybe you present at conferences that would interest the hypnotist.
Yeah. Well, The IEMT and the metaphors of movement are companion therapies, and to be honest, they're newer to me. And I've trained in IEMT, and I've been using it for almost 2 years now. And also metaphors of movement's been about 1.5 years. But aside from learning hypnosis, the very first, when we get into the field, it's one of those things that was just so new to me and so different that I've been really excited to integrate that into my practice. And Lori Donnelly is really the one that you want to have on to talk about the IEMT specifically. I really encourage you inviting her, and then Dale Turnbull for the metaphors of movement, because they could give you more of the deep dive into that. But I just love the way that it weaves and cleaves so beautifully with the hypnosis work that we do. Everything can turn into a trance-like experience the moment that we lose our awareness of the outside world, get really focused in on one thing. We start shifting states, the way we're thinking and feeling. And so those have a way of doing it in a way that's different than what we would consider hypnosis to be, whether it's conversational or street or therapy, or whether it's open-eyed or closed-eyed trance. But what I'm really passionate about is sexual freedom hypnosis and the handwriting analysis, or the graphology. Those are, hypnosis in general is just something that I have found to be profoundly important in my transformation and my processing and in my evolving. And I tell my clients, I would not ask you to sit in that chair right over there and do what I'm going to invite you to do if I haven't done it myself. And so, to experience it and to share it, I think is a really wonderful gift to give people.
Yeah, it definitely is. And oftentimes when a hypnotist can say, well, I've done this, I've done this work myself, it often helps our clients kind of relax a little bit more and say, okay, this person has been through what I've been through. They have at least some understanding of it. And I'm sure that definitely helps the whole process go a lot smoother.
Sure. And, people come for habit, behavior modification. And I tell them, I have one and dones with sessions, but on average, that's the exception and not the rule. Sometimes things take a little bit more time. And so I show them my fingernails and I say, I used to bite my cuticles and just peel them away until they bled. And I did that from about the age of 4 up until I became a hypnotist 12 years ago. So see, it takes a little time. It took me about 4 or 5, maybe even 6 sessions before I stopped. But just even being able to relate that, oh, okay, wait, yeah, I can see the difference in you. So I can trust that if I'm not feeling completely there at session 3, that's okay. So yeah, it's nice to be able to build that rapport or maintain it if you've already built it in that way.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I'll kind of ask the question that I think a lot of people are curious about. It's something I would expect to see pop up in that chat. But take us through your journey. Like, how did you arrive at this profession? I'm assuming that you're more therapy rather than performing, correct?
Yeah. Well, I think a good therapist, hypnotherapist, is going to have an element of performance, because it allows us to slip into the trance state and channel whatever it is that we're trying to bring to the client, whether it's paternal, maternal, whether it's we're going into the experience with the client to visualize and imagine with them. It kind of, at least in my experience, I feel like there is an element of performance to it, although very different than what you would consider performing. I'm still me. Sure. I'm just allowing myself to slip in. But yeah, so I'm very therapy based, and what brought me to this was essentially when my daughter was in not middle school, she was about 4th grade, she developed emetophobia, which is the fear of vomiting or regurgitation. And She had a real life experience with it. And so it had triggered in her a fear that developed over time into a phobia. And so we lived with that for about 1.5 years. And I had someone say, have you considered hypnosis for this? It could be a past life issue. And I said, I was raised by hippies. I do believe in reincarnation, but she had a real life event that happened that triggered this. And so, very likely it's a present life thing. So about 6 months goes by and I see the same person. I'm like, how's your daughter doing? Oh, she's still suffering, blah, blah, blah. Have you tried hypnosis? And so finally by the 3rd time, that this person brought it to me, I said, all right, I'll think about it. And she did mention to me a book called Spontaneous Memories of Past Life Children. It was basically written by a talk therapist who had children who had experienced spontaneous past life memories. And I was in a bookstore one day here in tiny Los Osos. There's one bookstore. We have maybe 14,000 people population here. And I turned around in the bookstore, and on the shelf is one copy of that book staring right at me. The spine is just right there. And I thought, okay.
Synchronicity, yeah.
There you go. So I took the book home and I read it, and they had a section in there that said, you'll know if it's very likely a past life memory if your child is having the reactionary experience and you say to them, you're in a different lifetime, in a different body, that can't hurt you now. And I thought, okay, I'll keep that, file it away. So sure enough, we're in the bathroom at Foster's Creek. She's freaking out, thinking she's going to vomit in the car. She can't eat, and she's having a panic attack of the ultimate measure, hyperventilation, everything. And I kneel down and I look at her and I said that to her. And immediately her body changed, her pupils went back to normal size. And she just went, oh, okay. And she went out there and she ate a cheeseburger, got in the car and drove. We were able to drive to the event we were going to. So I kind of thought, maybe there's something to this, right? So
she was worried that she was going to get in the car, get car sick.
And die. Essentially, over a year and a half, the fear developed to such a phobia that she thought that if she threw up, that, Mommy, if I throw up, I'm going to die. That's right. What she said to me. And so I took her to the hypnotist. I told the hypnotist the story, and she's like, it may be a past life, it may not. And, for the record, I practice very, very clinically. I'm a very analytical, clinical person. But I also know that in an infinite universe, there are infinite possibilities, and I do believe in the possibility of reincarnation. So that being said, I take her to the hypnotist, and the hypnotist just basically does a movie theater, puts her, the classic, basic 101 hypnosis. Yep. You put someone in trance, give them a remote control, and they have total, control over everything. And then all she said to her, was twice dissociated, and says to her, tell me about the time and place where your fear of barfing begins. And immediately my daughter shifted in the chair, her posture changed, and she recounted this story of where she was a little boy about the same age that my daughter was at the time, with chocolate brown skin and hair that's cut very close to my head. I'm wearing tattered clothes and my shoes are bare. Now, this is like she's talking kind of in a language that, she had heard the word tattered before, but the way that she said it with the intonation was just fascinating to me. So I'm just sitting there riveted, listening.
Almost like old English.
Yeah, I know. And she recounts the story. It's a fairly long story, but the abridged version is that playing with another child, riding bicycles, got hit by a truck. And at the moment of death, the wheel is pressed upon the stomach and all the fluids are backing up into the throat. And that was how they died, was with the fluids in the throat. So then the hypnotist ran her through, did the processing, did all of that stuff, and we were done. And of course there's tears and crying, and I'm just sitting there just crying. And she comes out of it and she turns around and she looks at me and she says, Mama, that was so cool. She said it was like a Technicolor movie. I was in it. I could see all
How
the color.
Confusing is that as a parent? You're like watching your child relive this traumatic experience. She's crying, you're crying, and then it's like, and then she's like, that was rad. And you're like, wait, what?
Well, I knew enough about hypnosis because I was raised by very counterculture, out of the box parents. We had books on Edgar Cayce. We had books on Jose Silva. So hypnosis and astral projection, all these things were not entirely foreign to me. And so it was anyway. So we get in the car and she's like, I'm hungry. Can we go get some food? And I'm like, yeah, let's go get some food. So that's when I realized, I'm like, this is way more interesting than being a high-level contract concierge bookkeeper. I'm going to pursue this. And so that's how I got into hypnotherapy. Was because of my daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine like nowadays Western medicine would be like, oh, well, our association matrix that, the hospitals make us follow is that, oh, she's got an eating disorder. She needs to see a nutritionist and a psychiatrist. And here, pump her full of all these anti-anxiety meds, and that doesn't help. And then it's just like, okay, here, I kind of like the hypnosis stuff where you really kind of focus at the heart of and then solve the problem.
Yeah. And to be honest too, it's like, I've done a ton of past life regressions by request. Mm-hmm. I've had people spontaneously pop into past life regression. And is it real or not real? I don't know. Is the subconscious eliciting a metaphorical or an analogy, a way to just process this thing? I don't know, and I don't care. It's an experience that has a way of really shifting and changing the way the person feels. An example is I had a client very early in my hypnosis career who came to me because every night she was waking up with her jaw kind of askew, and the muscle was really tight, and it was causing pain all up through her TMJ.
Oh, yeah.
And she had recently gone through a very tumultuous divorce. And, she's just like, this is what she tells me. She says, yeah, maybe I just have all this stuff. I want to scream at this person. And so I'm dreaming and I'm screaming at night, and then my jaw is locking up. I'm like, well, let's go in and just see. So I basically do a very clinical process with her. And then very specifically at a certain point in the hypnosis session, all of a sudden she starts like changing, and she says, I can't breathe. And I tell me what you notice, And she said, my mouth is full of dirt. And I said, well, how is it that your mouth is full of dirt? And she said, a landslide. And, we know we have to be careful not to lead, right? So I'm just like, and what do you notice? And how did that happen? And apparently she had a past life spontaneous memory of a landslide came through her village, took her, and she was screaming for her children the moment that she heard the rumble and the dirt was coming in. And so did the clearing with all of that stuff, and it was gone. One session, it was gone. And then the next session, she comes back and she's like, now I want to work on, she had this whole laundry list of
oh, yeah. And I can imagine that there's a lot of people who, the folks that are very pro, hypnotherapy, and it's a tool in a toolbox. It's not the end all be all for everything, but they're like, can you cure my anxiety? Yeah, we could probably help out with that. Can you smoking? Sure. Weight loss? Not out of the question. It's like, okay, my friend's got cancer, and it's like, pump the brakes. There's limitations to what this can do, but it's an amazing tool. I mean, having gone through hypnotherapy myself, it's tremendous the effect that it's had.
Yeah.
And the funny thing for me is that it's not like I really had this night and day experience. It was just sort of when different situations would present themselves, I could look back and go, I really handled that a lot differently because I'm not in jail. I didn't react to, with the appropriate application of violence that, may have been there before. But and I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but it's like when, for me as a young kid, it was like, and even as I got older, it was like you kind of get backed into that corner, and you got everybody telling you like it's your fault and everything. It's kind of like the fight or flight, not so much that you get physical with anything, but you really just kind of lash out, and all you're trying to do is just stop the onslaught of everything. And then
yeah. You bring up a really good point, because more often than not, when people come in, and the first thing I ask them when they come in is after their follow-up from their first session is, and so just tell me, what may you notice is subtle or significant that's different? Because it is mostly subtle. It very often it's just, we just notice that we're feeling differently or we're behaving differently. And my favorite is when, it's been 3 or 4 sessions and we're getting ready to close out with the series or whatever. And like, well, I'm not really noticing, much. I guess this has helped. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then I'm one of those people who keeps session notes. So I'm going back. I'm like, so let's see, let's take a look. And then we go back and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't feel that way anymore. Oh, I don't do that anymore either. Oh, and I am sleeping better. And so then they can see, because it happens so subtly. And so, I tell them, I go, often when things feel so natural and normal, that's when we don't really notice them anymore because they're just natural and normal. So isn't it great that this is your new normal?
Yeah.
So yeah, good point.
I often tell people, because they'll ask, well, how long will hypnosis last? I said, well, it will last until you adjust and you're doing whatever it is that you want to be doing on your own. Because then it becomes your habit, or then it becomes your thought pattern, or it becomes your new emotional response to whatever, the external stimulus is.
What I found was that it wasn't a super abrupt, like I've got to go do a whole bunch of things different. Like, oh, I've got to go relearn a new habit. It was more, and it probably just was, I'll chalk a lot of it up to just the type of stuff that I was dealing with. And it was like, okay, I don't really, like subconsciously, I don't really get into certain situations anymore. I learned to recognize things and I just kind of go, okay, yeah, this is just, for lack of a better term, just turning into a big shit show. And this person's arguing or fighting me just to simply fight me. So I'm just not going to participate in this anymore. It's not worth my time. I'm just going to walk away. And I'm like, all right, cool. I can go do more productive things. And kind of by default, it eliminated a lot of stress. And, you kind of sit there and go, all right, well, this doesn't trigger the reactions, what doesn't create more arguments and stuff like that. So yeah. It was really just kind of seamless for me.
That's brilliant. That's got to feel good.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it doesn't, we're still not out of the woods. Like there's some people that just, I think one of my biggest pet peeves is just people that want to waste time and energy and effort. And I'm like, this is stupid, and
that's called efficiency, Brian. There's something to be said for efficiency.
I guess I'm kind of talking more along the lines of, litigation.
Gotcha.
I've got I was in a car accident a number of years ago. So we're trying to resolve everything, and just right from the get-go, opposing counsel has made this entire case 100 times more difficult than it has to be. And I'm like, we've spent so much in attorney's fees and stuff like that, just in time and stress and things like that I'm like, all we needed to do was just put forth a demand letter and negotiate a settlement. We filed this case to preserve a statute of limitations. And so, just the needless expenditure of time. And, when you're forced into something like that, it's, then there's some ethical things that I won't go into with it that they're doing, but it's definitely been a struggle.
Yeah.
And you being a person who loves efficiency, I'm sure that's frustrating.
Oh yeah. Like I could have had a surgery last week, but because of, for lack of a better term, just the dumb fuckery that they've pulled, I'm sitting there going, I'm like, yeah, it's Latin for something, I'm sure. It's just sitting here going like, okay, well, we've got to wait another 4 or 5, till the end of the week, for the judge to rule on something. And then I go, great. Yeah, I could get the surgery done, but now I've got to coordinate, because it's a surgery on my neck. And I'm like, yeah, my family's not going to be like, oh, let us go, the prime rate of airline tickets during the holiday season, and then trying to coordinate recovery and things like that. I'm just sitting there going, God, this could be another 3 months before I get operated on. And so it's just really thrown a monkey wrench in a lot of things. And I'm sitting there like, I want to go start performing again and doing stuff. And, so it's just kind of in this big holding pattern. I'm sitting there just, I find myself screaming the F word a lot, but
therapeutic F-bomb. I use them all the time. I'll ask
clients. I'm going to coin that phrase. I have just put that into the memory banks.
I was like, are you okay is it all right if I use a therapeutic F-bomb? And, sure. I give all my clients a hypnotic fuck it bucket, Brian. So
it takes me back to a time my son, we go recreational shooting and stuff. So we go out to this big gravel pit, and he's like, "Dad, can I just let one rip? If Mom's not around and it's just the couple friends of us out here, like, go for it." And he's just like, "Oh, it's something, pop, 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 pop," and he's shooting at a bowling pin or something. And I'm like, "All right, send it, bud." So
before I became a hypnotist, we had a saying in our families: "I just chuck it in the fucking bucket, let it go." So then when I started doing this work, I'm like, oh, I do love alliteration, and it does sound good. So yeah, everybody gets a hypnotic fuck. They're eco-friendly, biodegradable. They pop up just when you need them, just the right size. So now you have one too, right? I've given you the suggestion. You have one too.
And it's just a universal term.
Yeah.
And just the inflection in your voice, it there's already something that just it communicates so much. It's an emphasis, it's an adjective.
My daughter is a little spicy, and so when she was in high school, she was given an assignment to write a persuasive essay, and she wrote it on the benefits of cursing, and she got an A. So.
As a teacher, I've never had a problem with pretty much anything that my students wrote, but every so often you would get that one that was, like you said, it was spicy. So mine
she brought in like science. She was like, "This is why." It's not just it was an argument for, but she also brought in like, the psychology of why it works, why it's helpful.
The teachers sit there going like, "Oh, this has got substance, it's got argument, and supported by facts and research and this and this and this, and it actually makes logical sense," to which I agree with it, but it violates so many of the district policies and stuff like that. How do I give this an A? And
you just give it an A, because if you as a teacher get a paper that is exactly as you described it, and everything is documented, that they've revealed the sources of their information, and everything is in relative pristine order, that I don't care. That's an A. Like, to me, that's at least worth 90% right there. The content, you prove your argument. That's the other piece. And so as an English teacher, if it was me, based on what you've said and what you've described, Brian, that's sitting somewhere in the 90 to 95 range, give or take. Maybe a punctuation error or two that is so minor it wouldn't really matter. So
and a lot of it's all subject to interpretation. I remember a college class that was taking I remember if it was psychology or philosophy or something like that, but I kind of made the comment, and I said, it's like the joke, how do you tell the blind man at a nude beach? And the teacher goes, that is hardly appropriate for classroom discussion. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, it's the guy with the sunglasses, with the dog, with the harness and everything, or the red and white cane. I mean, he was fully clothed. Come on. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, and I was like, yeah, you put that own image in your head and you went down to the to the gutter. I didn't do anything about that.
It sounds like she needed some sexual freedom hypnosis to kind of shake loose some of those.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, and I'm gonna segue right into that, saying this. My Christian ethics class, because I went to a Catholic high school, we were talking about the benefits of abstinence and having at least being protected during sex. And one of the teaching tools that my teacher opted to use, because some guy is a comedian and just happened to have a certain tape by Bill Cosby, was in fact a 25-minute routine from Bill Cosby on and total stereotypes about why is it that it's up to the guys to buy the protection. And so we had arguments back and forth on that. This is 1989. And so it was a little progressive. It was a little edgy. She took the risk, it turned out to be much better than covering it from a textbook. Let's put it that way. But we all still had questions, which is where we didn't have any place to go and ask those questions other than try things ourselves, right? So But let's talk now about sexual freedom.
Well, let's be honest, Shawn. If the woman is going to go buy the condoms, she's got to get an array of sizes, right? Because you just don't know. A woman's got to be prepared. If the guy goes, he knows what he needs, so it's just a one-stop shop. There's just less to carry around. Now, I think both.
Sometimes we have an inflated opinion of ourselves, though.
Both options should be on the table, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Scott's joined us. I mean, welcome, Scott.
Oh, Scott, I don't need any guide into the gutter. I've already got my own little special pathway there. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
So actually, from earlier, Mark said that he studied palmistry and astrology. Probably I should have used that comment first, then said, "Oh shit, Scott joined us." But
so
I'm assuming the palmistry is like reading the lines and the wrinkles in your hand and everything.
Why? What were you thinking, Brian?
It's not what I was thinking. It's what I fear Scott is going to comment next.
So I'm glad that Mark brought this up, because in my manual for handwriting analysis for coaches and therapists, I coined a term called psychic statistics. And I've used this term forever and ever that I can remember. And when, AI came along, I started asking and digging, has anyone used this term before? And I haven't been able to find it. So I'm in the process of trademarking it. But what psychic statistics means is when we're talking about the metaphysics, we're talking about astrology, palmistry, numerology. When we're talking about graphology, let's go with the ologies, okay? There's a certain pattern recognition that we get. So when I say psychic statistics, it's statistically speaking, if someone is born under this configuration of stars and planets at this particular time, they are likely to have this type of personality expression. Statistically speaking, if someone's pinky finger is proportionally so much smaller than the rest of their fingers, then there's a meaning to that we can look through pattern recognition and see that it's actually playing out in real time. So it's kind of the culmination of where intuition meets data. We can intuitively predict that this person is going to have a specific personality trait or whatever based on their astrology. So that's going to be my talk at Hypnotists this year. I just got the okay that they accepted my proposal. So I'm going to be talking about psychic statistics and how this can play a role, how we can utilize it with our clients, and how not to dismiss it entirely.
Well, it's when we're gathering data about a person or a client, we're not just looking at what they're saying. We're looking at their body language. We're looking at their posture. We're trying to gather as much information to find out what is that one thing that if we pulled the pillar out from underneath it would, absolutely collapse all the stuff that they're dealing with, right? And in order to do that, data helps. And so, if it's coming from psychic statistics, I don't think that hurts. I think that's there, and it will actually help inform us as to, hey, with this particular person and these particular things that are happening, you might expect A, B, and C. So, prepare accordingly for your sessions. Anything that we can get that helps us, better serve our clients. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that leads to why I use the graphology or the handwriting analysis. I use the terms interchangeably, but they actually are two separate things. So if we talk about the more traditional handwriting analysis is more like forensics. So there's handwriting forensics, which is really handwriting analysis, and that is used in law enforcement, it's used in forgery, it's used in all those kinds of things. And then graphology is just the study of the form and shape and potential meaning behind handwriting. But just to be able to make it easy for the lay people, I just use handwriting analysis. So handwriting analysis and graphology are the same. But I work this into every session with every client, and it was part of our training at HMI And I find it so valuable. And this is probably why, Mike does as well, because it gives us a window into the client's unconscious tendencies, behaviors, the way that they're likely to behave and express themselves in very specific or very general situations. And, I get a handwriting sample from every client. When they come to me, they bring me with them. I give them instructions to take a blank, unlined piece of white paper and write as much or as little as you feel inclined to about what you'd like to resolve with hypnotherapy. Put your signature on there somewhere. They bring it to me. I can tell so much from that sample. And it just gives me, and then it also helps us to build rapport, because when we go over it, I'm like, oh, and what I'm seeing here is that in your intimate partner relationships, you're likely to experience this. I can see where your confidence is low here. I can see where you're feeling pressure here. I can see here where you feel agitation or frustration. I can see here where you're very creative, very clever. You think outside the box. So handwriting is never right or wrong, good or bad. It's information. And because sexual freedom and ethical erotic hypnosis are also a part of my process, I can see where people are experiencing the blocks physically in the way that they express themselves. And so this workbook that I put together is like over 100 pages, and we go into every letter, the potential meaning of every letter, as observed over time historically. If someone makes their letters D this way, or their letter G this way, or the letter Y, they're likely to behave in this way. And it really becomes a wonderful template. And not only that, if people are always looking for the script, well, your client brings you the script because it's all there just to flip it. And it's a wonderful way to look back. I have samples that I'm going to share at my next training on this. And I always share samples, but I have one recently that is really incredible. And it was a young woman. She's 26, on the autism spectrum, sensory processing disorder, like just really, really heightened state of anxiety because of the sounds in the world around her, because of the way that her body would go into these tremors and shakes with the overload of stimulus. And she brought a sample into me. And to see the way she wrote before she came to see me, and then as the last session, when we're doing the follow-up, we're doing everything, and she starts to write out on this paper, because she likes to draw. She's a very kinesthetic processor. So she's drawing, and then she starts writing, and I'm noticing just how different her handwriting is. So then I asked her, I said, can I give you a blank piece of paper and just write about how you feel now in your body when the sounds of the world are going on around you? And they're like any other sounds. They just don't bother you. And so she sets to writing. And I have the samples in there if you want me to go to get them to show you. They're pretty incredible. It is phenomenal, the difference in the handwriting. And the mother just sent me an email just to follow up and say it's been life-changing for her. But the handwriting is going to show you. You can see if someone has suicidal ideations. You can see, I have told certain male clients, I'm sorry, but I cannot be the hypnotherapist for you because of just some of the form in the handwriting with the content of what they wrote was a bit disturbing. And it's only happened a couple of times over 12 years and 1,700 people. But you get that window, and it's fucking fantasy. Just amazing, if I can say that. It's fantastic to have. It's fascinating.
Like I could appreciate it from the analytical standpoint, but for someone to, like, from the patient, it'd be like, here, write all this stuff down about how you're feeling. And I'm like, admittedly, it's a learning disability for me to just be like, I've got this blank slate to write about whatever I want. I'll stare at that paper for hours, days, maybe.
Yeah. And this particular person, the difference was so huge because of the condition of her neurological processing. The average person, their handwriting isn't going to change that dramatically. If I give somebody graphotherapeutic exercises to do, then, this is where we can help. One of the examples is if somebody writes their signature and they write it out, and then they do this scribble through, and then they do a little thing at the end. And then I ask them, is your signature is a bit illegible. Are you signing your first, middle, or last name? How are you signing? Oh, that's my first and last name. But you can see that the scribble goes primarily through the last name. So then I ask them, is this a married name or is this your family name? Oh, it's my family name. Or if they say their married name, whichever one it is. And I say, well, how do you feel about your partner? oh, I'm just pissed off at them. I'm ready to divorce them. Really? Because I'm seeing an unconscious desire to scratch yourself out of that name. There's just a lot of anger and aggression going on there. Or if it's a family name, we can say, oh yeah, my parents were terrible, or I had a terrible childhood, or my father was abusive, or my mother was whatever. And again, it's an unconscious desire to cancel out the identification with that name. So, but it's also, a lot of anger and aggression that hasn't been expressed. So this is where I'll give somebody some therapeutic exercises with the handwriting and say, look, we're going to work through the therapy part here, but you may or may not notice your handwriting change on its own. I would really, really recommend that you start changing it on your own, just because where the mind goes, the body follows. And if you, in conjunction with therapy, you start consciously changing your handwriting, it's going to really help to implement the change quicker, faster, deeper.
Yeah, for me now that I know, I'm going to practice it in my handwriting before you ever see it.
That's the thing. People think, oh, it's messy. People who have messy handwriting are generally quick thinkers. They're generally very ambitious, sometimes very analytical. They tend to be very industrious. So there's no need for all these extra flourishes and embellishments, because they're very efficient. They're just getting to where they need to go. But people think, oh, it's messy. If somebody's handwriting is very, very legible, overly legible, they either have such a fear of making mistakes, such a fear of straying from social norms, they really need to be in control all the time, and they seek situations in which they are in control. They tend to have partners who they do not mind submitting control to. So there's lots of ways to look at it, but it's never right or wrong, good or bad. It's just information.
Because I always struggle with handwriting. Like, I've got, my handwriting's at least relatively legible, but I always found like my brain could think faster than I could write. So it's like, I can't keep up. Oh my God, I got to keep, I can't listen and write stuff down, as fast as like taking notes. Oh God, I was horrible at it.
Yeah. That's not uncommon. And so many times people have experiences from, they have a memory from kindergarten getting it wrong, or third grade or fifth grade, and so they freeze up. And so when they go to write as adults, their mind freezes up. And so there's so many different aspects that you could look at as far as why that would be. But when I was, to speak to your brain moving really fast, Brian, when I was a child, I used to stammer. Mm-hmm. Not quite a stutter, but a stammer. And, they took me to the doctor, like, no, she's fine. She's thinking too fast. She's thinking of the next 2 or 3 things that she wants to say, and she's not, just have her slow down. Mm-hmm. And so the exercise was just to speak more slowly, more methodically, and the stammer just went away. And I do tend to get excited and passionate about certain things, so I'll start talking faster, but fortunately the stammer doesn't come in anymore. But it's sometimes it's just a matter of how do we learn to slow down that thought process a little bit.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. There's sometimes I'm like thinking of a word and I'm like, God, that word escapes me right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's becoming, unfortunately, much more common, I think, based on the amount of information that we're always presented with. And I see it all the time with students. I see it all the time with other teachers, with my colleagues. We'll be talking about something. We know exactly what we're talking about, but do you think that word will come up in our brain to say what it is? No. I sat in a meeting last week, and actually, I shouldn't say last week. It was on Monday, and it seems like last week already. My colleagues were there. We were talking behind the scenes while this meeting was going on, so that we were prepared to, say our bit when the time came. And I worked through everything that I needed to. And then when I was done, I turned to my colleagues and said, did I miss anything? And one of them had something she really, really needed to say, but she could not get that word out. And to me, it seems like the more that you're on the go, on the move, and the less time you actually spend relaxing and recuperating from life in general, the more that memory thing just starts, it just starts playing havoc because your brain is working on overtime and overload. So,
sure. The other thing, Shawn, that can play into that is low blood sugar. So if you've been in a meeting and maybe the meeting's gone long and it's before lunch or it's before time to go home, it's blood sugar can play a role because there's just less glucose circulating through to give us the energy that we need for the brain to function properly. I know about that because I'm borderline hypoglycemic. So it's just about like, oh yeah,
And I'm type 2 diabetic, so I know about it too. So
yeah, Scott's got a great question. He's asking, what if someone writes in, he quotes, different fonts? Each entry in their journal has drastically different handwriting styles.
It's not uncommon for people to have different styles of handwriting because handwriting is an expression of our mood of the moment that we put pen to paper and allow our emotions to flow from the subconscious through what we call ideomotor response. So if our mood changes, the handwriting is going to change in subtle and sometimes even very drastic or noticeable ways. If there is multiple over time and it's consistent, then the first thing I would look at is what is the mood that the person's having when they're writing that particular way? And again, we're going to look at slant. We're going to look at pressure. We're going to look at size. We're going to look at form and flow because those are the things that are going to tell us right up front what's going on with the person's emotional state. So if sometimes they write in a recline or sometimes they write in a forward or they're big or small. If someone's handwriting is really, really ornately different, like it looks like two completely different human beings wrote it, that can be a sign of neurosis. It can be a sign of somebody who just doesn't know who they are. And they're expressing themselves in different ways in different situations. So there are certain signs of neurosis that you can see. And one of them is looking at how much does the form change within the writing itself or the writing from time to time. One of the examples in my training that they gave us was all these different samples from serial killers and Charles Manson. And then there was one from Marilyn Monroe. And you can go online and you can look up different handwriting samples from people as they have them, more often signatures than handwriting samples. But because people have been really good about preserving some of the documents and things of famous people, then we can see some samples of handwriting. But there are signs of psychosis, neurosis. There's signs of criminality. There's signs of cruelty. The section that I have, I made the workbook that I didn't have when I was in training. So it's not just kind of built on what I had learned with, the basics, the fundamentals. But I have a page in there, just where we can see sex between the lines or however I have it, on there, because you can see a person's sexual, preferences, behaviors, tendencies and traits. And you can see, this is where when I saw that one client that I had to refer out, I'm like, no, I'm not working with you. He had signs of cruelty. He had signs of aggression. He had signs of sexual confusion. He had signs of like all these things that were just, no, I'm not going to be alone in a room with you, dude. And then to add in the content in there where he's like, oh, I really wish that I could drive you and blah, 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 and we could go I could drive you to on vacation or something. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting in a car with you. But so the idea is that that's rare that happens, but you can see it.
I would have been like, how about remote work?
And, it's happened more often. It happens much more often when someone comes in and they put their sample in front of me and we start talking and I say, look, I need you to be really honest with me. What I'm seeing in your handwriting is showing me that either now or in the recent past, you've been having thoughts of suicidal ideation. And they just look at me like, how do you know that? Because you can see it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And this helps us as therapists to stay in our lane, to know when we need to refer out, when we need to be a co-therapist instead of the primary. It just helps us, in my opinion, to work ethically.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's you bring up the ethical part of it. Again, when people don't know much about hypnosis, they're coming for their, consultation. One of the areas that I tend to cover with them is the fact that, look, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. I will do my very best, and I will be ethical and professional with you at all times. It's one of those things that once you cover that, it's like, okay, this guy's actually going to be on the up and up with me. And I had my students ask me that in that class that I teach. Why does hypnosis work so well here? I said for two reasons. One, this is a place of exploration. We're in a class together. There's going to be no shenanigans, because after the number of times that we've met as a class, you've gotten to know and trust me. The other piece is, of course, you see me as an expert. So, that I have that works in my favor as well. But that rapport, that ability to build on top of the ethics, and as you said, when it's time to refer out. Don't try and throw the Hail Mary pass and try and win the game, because most of those Hail Mary passes don't work out. So when you're dealing with the types of issues that you're dealing with, you have to be that voice of ethics, that voice of reason that says, we're not going to do everything here. This is what I'm noticing. Now it's up to you, and put the ball back in their court.
Yeah, I ask every client when they come in, part of the intake process, have you experienced hypnosis before? Have you had, medical or dental hypnosis? Have you experienced, entertainment hypnosis? Have you been a volunteer on stage? And, if someone tells me, I've had hypnotherapy before, then I ask, what was your experience like? And very often it's like, oh, it was great. That's why I'm back. I want more. But once in a while, they'll tell you it was weird AF, or the person was really inappropriate. And, you get bad apples in every profession. But I think that it's really up to us to really, I consider, if somebody allows me to go into to interface with their subconscious mind, I don't take that lightly. To me, that's a sacred exchange. It's a genuine honor and privilege to be allowed to do this, to have someone lay in a chair and close their eyes for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, and they're just there with you, allowing themselves to, surrender to some degree into the experience. This is something that we absolutely need to hold in the highest place of ethics, because, it's already, as we know, people can take advantage of people in various situations, and people in different professions learn hypnosis. There was a well-known case of a hypnotist who's an attorney. He's a divorce attorney. And he became a hypnotist to learn it because he wanted to hypnotize his female clients to help them relax during the divorce process. Oh, it's so stressful. Let me help you relax. And, he was taking advantage of some of these women. And then people say, well, how can that happen? Well, some people experience hypnoamnesia. They go into that deep, sometimes Edsdale state, and they're out. And we know that that's the lesser population that do that, percentage of people that do. But people are also vulnerable. And so if they see someone as authority, if they see someone as credible, if they see someone as safe, and they're lacking for connection and affection, then we can see how someone can leverage a situation to where this person might not naturally do that, but in this situation, their filters are a little, thin. So yeah, it is really important. And interestingly enough, I wonder, and this is just a wondering on my part, if being a woman sometimes helps in this particular profession, because when I refer out, sometimes if I can't see someone, I'm generally kind of booked out. And like, can I refer you to someone else? Actually, sure. And I ask, do you prefer a man or a woman, a male or female? Very often I would prefer a female. Sometimes I don't care, but men would often prefer females, and oftentimes women. And that's not a statement against men in any way. I just think it's an environment in which one can find themselves quite vulnerable. And so I think people take that into consideration.
Oh, for sure. And as a reformed family law paralegal in a former life, there are people that really could benefit from some hypnosis and some hypnotherapy. especially in the high contentious, or the contentious high conflict divorces, especially with kids involved. Really get people to kind of let go of the pain and kind of look at it more as a business transaction of, look, this is what we need to do. We need to sort things out and really look at what's in the best interest for the kids, because you find that, and this is over a decade plus of personal experience and hundreds of cases, is that one or both parents are going to try to punish the other one. And it's not uncommon for the kids to be used as leverage to try to manipulate things, whether it's withholding of children or trying to get the kids to, take sides or something like that. And if you could really get people to kind of see the forest for the trees, that would be incredible.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I think a lot of people, when, going on what you said about, female hypnotherapists, is, divorce can be just a crushing thing, whether it's through infidelity or you just grow apart, or just, hey, that you're grieving the loss of something, if it's, had any time into it. And, a lot of people kind of look for that maternal side of the aid and the comfort, mm-hmm. rather than the authority. And so it's almost like having a healthy mixture of both, of somebody who's going to really, give you kind of these hard truths, but really, I think in the end, it would save people so much money, because trials are expensive.
Yeah.
Especially if you look at, Washington State, the greater Seattle area, you could probably be looking around $400, between $350 and $500 an hour for an attorney. And you're going to go sit in a courtroom for 6 to 8 hours. You're meeting beforehand and talking afterwards. That it's easy to get 8 hours of billable time. You're spending $4,500 a day on something like that. Not to mention all the trial prep leading up to it. So it's like someone goes, "Oh my God, this is, what do you mean it's going to be $30,000 to go to trial?" Well, yeah, it adds up fast.
So what you're saying, Brian, is we can have a tiered rate structure, and if divorce attorneys come to us as hypnotists, we can.
Honestly,
I'm being facetious.
No, I mean, you realistically could be onto something there. I can't speak for other states. I know Washington State, if children are involved in any type of either parentage, so unmarried parents, or divorcing families that have children, that there's a parenting seminar that you have to take, and it's about as useless as a football bat when you get down to it, because it's all like, oh, kumbaya, and if you guys would just get along. And it's like, yeah, a lot of these people, if they could get along, they wouldn't be going through this.
For sure.
We in Canada would say it's as useless as fourth down, because we only play 3 down football.
Yeah. You're like 3 strikes, you're out. Give it to the other team.
Yeah. Well, after 2, it's decision time.
But at the end of the day, hypnosis is a voluntary thing. You can't mandate somebody to go into trance. You can't write a court order that says you will do this or else.
Yeah.
But I think it's,
well, you could. I mean, certain forensics have come about because of it, but it is rare, because one of the things that we know as hypnotists is, memory can sometimes be a little tricky. It's dependent on the emotional state. How was it stored? Was it ever processed? How many times has this memory come up? Has it been, revivified a few times and changed because of the different emotional state that person was in at the time? There's a whole litany of things that could happen. So, for the very few of us that are actually trained in forensic hypnosis, that's a big deal when the court would order something like that.
Yeah. Marcus Howell was the And you guys get a chance to meet Mark Howell at Hypnothoughts over the years?
I have not, no.
Yeah, he's amazing. He literally wrote the book, and I mean that literally, on forensic hypnosis in the state of Texas. Now, we know that not all states allow hypnosis, testimony or evidence to, not test or testimony, whatever it is that they gather, information that they gather under hypnosis is not admissible in many courts. But in Texas it is, and he literally wrote the book on how to do it ethically and clean, so that it's really, really amazing guy. My first year at Hypnotists was 2016, and that's when I met him. And I'm originally from Northeast Texas, and so is he. So we were kind of just bonding over the fact that we probably share a bloodline somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we had some good conversation. And then many years later, it's probably been about 3 years now, he was kind of trying to clear his collection of books and manuscripts and things. And so everybody got a ticket in the room at his Hypnothoughts lecture. And then they were drawing. And when he pulled up his original working copy of the book, he drew my number. So I have the original working copy with all the red pencil edits and everything here.
Nice.
It's kind of a treasure of mine. So I'm going to hang on to that.
I've had a few authors ask me to look over their books and do a little proofreading and so on and so forth. So I know what that's like, because oftentimes when you receive a textbook, and this is the teacher geek that's going to come out in me, when you receive a textbook, that information is often, yes, it's verifiable and so on and so forth, but it takes time to do that. Like some of the textbooks that we have, when they're brand new, when you crack the spine for the very first time, they're 7 years old. Mm. And so to have an original copy and just be able to look and see, okay, well, no, they were going in this direction, and 7 years later, yeah, that would have been right. Should have kept that in the book. That's a good point. To me, that's invaluable information and insight into other areas that could be written about, could be explored, and could be built upon. So yeah, having something like that's a treasure.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
All right. We should make mention of the fact that Friend or Frenemy is coming up.
I was going to say it's gambling time, but
just
without
money. What? Gambling?
Yeah, without spoiling the question and knowing that anything goes in Texas.
Place your bets. Do you guys think that that our guest is a friend or a frenemy? And nothing bad as far as you know. And
if you know Jim, you know the question.
I don't. I did not have the gift and treasure of getting to know Jim well. We knew of each other, and we shared a lot of Facebook conversation and just quick hello passings at Hypnothoughts, but unfortunately I did not get to know him better than that.
Okay, Jim was on for a few quirks, so we'll talk about those in a few minutes. Circling back to the handwriting and putting process together. So in your intake, you've got a powerful tool to work with your clients to introduce them and to provide some information to them about, maybe they don't even know. Well, they wouldn't know because they're not the handwriting experts. How do you see this? And you've got their questions, their curiosity, and very often in those conversations, I would assume the actual problem kind of presents itself. As opposed to, because even though we're not doctors, it's very similar process. People come to us, they've got a list of symptoms. I'm anxious. Okay, well, what's making you anxious? I don't know. Now we have to do the investigative work to find out what is this? Where is it coming from? You find out that when they were 3 years old, a cat jumped out and scared them or something like. It could be something as simple as that sets them off with this anxiety. And or we were talking about it earlier today in a different meeting. Peopling can be hard. Well, yeah, it can be. But it was probably one particular person in their past that said something or did something or whatever it is, we have to be the ones that kind of dig around a little bit to make sure that we get the right issue and address that issue, so that when they leave, even if they don't feel like they've received a miracle, that change is in there, and we know that it's going to take.
Yeah. And that's another interesting thing to talk about, because we know when you do this long enough, the issue is not the issue oftentimes.
No, definitely not.
They'll come in saying with their little handwriting sample, this is my problem, this is what I'm feeling. And as you say, those are the symptoms, but the issue comes from something completely different. And again, this is where the handwriting, I think, really comes in a valuable way, because it helps us to see a person's suggestibility, right? The way that they take information in, the way that they process. Are they very direct and literal processors? Are they more inferential, kind of read between the lines people? Are they somnambulists? Are they in that kind of closer to the middle zone? But we can also see, we know that their suggestibility can shift over time if there's been trauma involved. Let's just say someone's a really, really, really high inferential, what we would call in my vernacular, an emotional suggestible. There's somewhere on a scale of, no one's ever 100% on the spectrum, but let's just say 60, 40, 70. But this person comes at it in an 85, 90% emo suggestible. They are over inferring, they are just over analyzing, ruminating, stuck in their head, and they're implying that things are happening when they're not happening. What I'll see often in the handwriting is a slight change in their lowercase letters M, because the letter M will tell us what a person's suggestibility is likely to be. So maybe they come in making those M's really, really spiky and really close together. But then over time, when you deal with the trauma that was the real issue that caused them to have the social anxiety, that caused them to have whatever, you can see that those letters M over the course, if you had a big enough sample, would start to space out a little bit further. Because now there's more space between each of those hump points, if you want to call them that. And so the idea being is that you can kind of see some of that change, because somebody who's walking around at that high level of inferential suggestibility, that's got to be a nightmare. Everybody's the enemy. Everyone's out to hurt you. Every word is a slight. You can't go outside because of agoraphobia or whatever it is. So through the therapy, we can see that suggestibility shift, and they come down a little bit, getting more to a more manageable level. And the same thing goes on the opposite end of the spectrum. But yeah, good stuff.
All right. Nobody wants to venture a guess as to friend or frenemy.
I thought for sure that Mark would have a guess, or at least Scott. But I don't know. Becca might have a guess.
We'll see. The teacher in me says, "Okay, hold, wait."
Yeah.
Draw this out.
At some point, we're going to be like, "Okay, pencils down."
Yeah, make it uncomfortable. No, it's one of those fun things. So, Jim was known for many things, including the statement, "Damn, I'm pretty," and he had a certain issue with a certain food. So, all right, here we go. We had one. Mark says friend. Scott says frenemy.
So this is not. Oh, if it's there, fine. We're talking about you are getting on the phone. You're ordering pizza for yourself.
This one I know.
Pineapple does or does not belong on pizza.
Pineapple does not belong on pizza, Brian. The damn I'm pretty and the pizza are the two that I know about him, and we would comment back and forth here and there. So yes.
Oh God, that sounded so much like "Not today, Satan."
Not today, Brian. No pineapple on the pizza.
No, and oftentimes, when people say that they do like it, I have to apologize to the world because it was a Canadian invention. So.
Oh, I see. My thing is that I like the pepperonis to be on the very, very top. Don't put the pepperonis underneath all the other stuff. No. Then they get soggy. The pepperoni's got to be on the top, baby. I want them crisp. I want them golden. I want them crunchy. That's my thing.
There you go.
I usually will get the pepperoni and the crumbled bacon, the bacon bits. So it's sort of like, throw the pepperoni on top, throw the bacon bits on top of it. It really, it's sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Becca Rose, good answer. Well, I've made a friend in Becca Rose, it looks like.
Yeah. So we've got to get some encouragement to get her to come out to Vegas. Be like, it's okay to travel. You're amongst friends. Nothing bad's going to happen to you.
And nobody's going to force you to eat pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, wow. You're going to be able to see some amazing sights and everything like that, and all of that. So, we'd love to see her out there. But we've got.
Yes, you're right, Mark. We have our own bacon here in Canada.
It's called ham. Really, really expensive ham.
It's not prosciutto. It's different.
Yeah.
It's because it's Canadian.
Because it's Canadian. There you
go. Your direct competition, I guess it would be called pea meal bacon, because that's what it used to come wrapped in. So,
okay.
Anyway, we digress, because now we're getting into breakfast stuff, Mark, and if it's not if it's not Eggs Benedict properly with Canadian bacon on it, then it's not Eggs Benedict. So, and I only get to have that every so often.
See, somebody heard bacon and was like, yes, please.
They heard pizza and thought, scraps? Dropping?
Yeah, it's a boy.
I still, and I forget what comedian it was. Used to say he would be eating chips on the sofa, and there would be some crumbs, and the dog would come by and lick them up, and then the dog would sit and look at him, and can I have a chip?
Yeah.
Can I have a chip? Okay, if I give you this chip, you're gonna go away. Yeah, okay, just give me the chip. So the dog gives the dog the chip. Can I have a chip?
Just stands there. I too enjoy munching on those.
So anyway, it's all good. Okay. So Becca's saying, so nobody's gonna force you to eat pineapple on pizza. The Americans don't tie people up anymore. I was able to get away from them a couple of times. And there's a vote for Sammy.
So that was Sammy, the retired narcotics dog.
Oh, super sweet.
Mark says his beagle heard too. Was it bacon? Was it chips? What was it, Mark, that sparked the interest, or was it just pizza in general? Anyway, it's all good. Before we move on to working through the hypnosis portion of the show, are there any other services, any things that you want to highlight that we didn't cover yet? Because that always invariably leads to, hey, we got to have you back on again.
Yeah.
Well, there's always more that's fun to talk about that's hypnotic, isn't there? But, I think that there's just so many wonderful applications of this. And the different areas that I've studied that you see on my bio are things that I have found curious and interesting that have been very transformative for me personally. And so I've just, wanted to learn them for myself, but also to enhance my skills as a hypnotist. And I studied with the fabulous Kaz Riley for the sexual freedom hypnosis and the ethical erotic hypnosis. And so, it's just building upon that and helping people to work through religious trauma, sexual trauma. That's one of my favorite things to do, because it can be so limiting in so many ways. That type of stuff can really, really inhibit the way that we should be able to express ourselves in the world. And it doesn't just come out in the bedroom. It comes out with interpersonal relationships, friendships, coworkers, all that kind of thing. So, and as far as the biofeedback, it looks like Mark is asking about the biofeedback. Biofeedback device I have is a quantum biofeedback. It's very old. It's called a SCIO, SCIO. And it's essentially kind of like a homeopathic device. And it's also just a brainwave entrainment machine. So when I talk about a homeopathic device, it's pre-programmed with somewhere like 10,000 different frequencies, energetic signatures for things in the environment, our food, oriental herbs, remedies, pathogens, you name it, allergens, and even those that reflect emotions and color. And so what will happen is someone lays in the chair and we hook them up with what looks like wristbands and ankle bands and then a headband. The wristbands and the ankle bands look a lot like an old school metal watch band. And there's these little rubber sensors that go vertically in the forehead, and the client will lay there and interface with the device as I run my computer program through it. And then it re-educates muscles. It's relaxation training. It doesn't treat or diagnose anything unless you are a medical professional with that kind of scope of practice behind you. But it's wonderful. And it also kind of does some metaphysical stuff where it can look at the chakras and the auras and see where those are at and help you energetically clear those. And the name of my business practice is Quantum Waves Hypnotherapy. And that's how I started, because I was first Quantum Waves Biofeedback. And we know that thought forms and thought waves, they have their own energy and frequency. So when people are in hypnosis, we know through EEGs that we can see changes in the brain that happen while people are in trance. So I just kept the same name. And then the G-Spots Hypnotherapy is my YouTube channel. That's the little moniker underneath my name. So that's where you can go to find videos about hypnosis. I've got some audios on there, and it's just good stuff. I have that whole emotional and physical sexuality up there as well, and suggestibility.
So tell us about the stuff that's on your website.
On my website, you're going to see the different services that I offer. So not just the hypnotherapy, but the biofeedback and the handwriting analysis. But then you'll see all the different subspecialties of areas that I work with. So there's relationship strategies, there's, again, the religious trauma, there's addictions, there is habits. So you can see the little laundry list of things that people will often come to me for. I do not advertise the ethical erotic hypnosis on my website for a reason, and that is because I really don't want a whole lot of people calling me that I really don't want to work with. So it's strictly, for the most part, word of mouth. Right. Or if I vet them properly beforehand. So,
All right. Just from TikTok, Steve Supachana has been in and out of the podcast a couple of times. He says, "Hi, crazy."
Oh, I love Steve. He's fantastic. He's one of my first OG friends from Hypnothoughts. So, yeah.
Steve is a good guy. He and I often do a lot of website stuff behind the scenes, and he when Scott was running the Hypno Hustle and Steve was there, we always used to have side conversations about different tech platforms and all those good things. But Steve is an excellent hypnotist in his own right, and does a lot of work in the rodeo realm, which you wouldn't, looking at Steve, you wouldn't think rodeo with Steve, but that is one of his specialities. All right.
Move my microphone around for the hypnosis part.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think that I'm not seeing anything else in the chats anywhere along the way.
So I'm going to mute myself for the hypnosis, because I think somebody's letting me know it's time to go outside.
You're starting to
That's
get
important business.
Yeah, I mean, granted, he's down here like curled up on the floor, going like, okay, I know he does this like every time that someone's going to do the hypnosis stuff, but yeah, you do the disclaimer, and I will be right back.
Sounds good. And with that, we have this wonderful disclaimer, because we do have people who listen. If you are listening right now and you're not able to allow yourself to focus on hypnosis, feel free to turn us off now, and you can come back to it later. It will be on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, at least Facebook for the next 30 days because of their policies. But hypnosis does rely on focus, and get yourself comfortable in a spot where you're not going to injure yourself if you happen to get really, really relaxed. If you're driving, cooking, and I did actually have that on TikTok once where a lady said, "Oh, it's a good thing you said something because I was just about to chop vegetables." Like, yeah, I could just see it now. The lawsuit because somebody chopped their finger off, or they fell on the knife or something like that. That would just be bad headlines. So whatever it is, make sure you're in a comfortable spot, that you're safe, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. I invite you to take a moment to settle in wherever you might find yourself to be. Let yourself get comfortable. Maybe you have a pillow behind your head or under your knees. Maybe you're seated comfortably in a chair that supports you in such a familiar way that you can begin to let the outside world start to fade away. Should you need to reawaken for any important reason, your unconscious mind will gently alert you. And as soon as you open your eyes or reawaken, calmly and completely to a non-suggestible state. But for now, you are free to follow me down the familiar pathways within your mind and body to relaxation, the sensation of your own creation that you may find allows you to fully accept the invitation to hypnosis, an exercise of the mind and body, imagination and feeling, designed to bring you a change that you desire. And I wonder how wonderful it would be for you to allow me to speak directly to that part of you that I know you know loves to relax and imagine, and allow images, positive images, feelings, wonderful feelings, to take over your mind and body. You don't really need to see anything. Sometimes a deep sense of knowing is more than enough. And what would it be like for a short time, here with me, to allow your mind to put the entire outside world somewhere far behind you? And upon awakening from this short hypnosis, you'll find you feel refreshed, grounded, clear-headed, relaxed. A feeling that you may find stays with you longer than your thinking mind could have ever once thought possible. I'm going to invite you, should you want to roll the eyes up under the lids one time briefly for each count, where you may find you feel especially relaxed at 0. 10. Closing the door to the outside world in a welcome and wonderful way. That door getting smaller and more distant with every exhale, somehow giving you even more peace and space to breathe and relax and breathe. 9. Lingering thoughts, preoccupations, distractions of any kind, you may find continue to drift from the mind. Intrusive or unnecessary thoughts, like bubbles or balloons, you could let them float through or perhaps quietly pop. Your mind will know what's best for you. 8. The better you feel, the deeper inwards you seem to drift and float, perhaps even melt into the calm and comfort that you are creating with hypnosis. 7. And the deeper inwards you drift, the better you seem to feel. Any common everyday sounds of life around you are temporarily not your responsibility, or simply never are. So you could ignore them completely. Or perhaps you find them in some way comforting. 6. That welcome unwinding from within, from top to toe, with every exhale as you continue to just let go. Letting go of any measure of accumulated pressure, frustration, tension, or stress. I know that you know the right way to just let go. 5. And I'm curious if you might be curious, how curious it would be to allow me to help you find that place inside of you where for a time nothing else seems to matter to your mind, where nothing could possibly bother you. 4. Becoming open and receptive to positive thought and suggestion designed to bring you something you would like to shift and change, perhaps rearrange within your brain, mind, and body to make you feel differently, perhaps more positively, perhaps more confidently. 3. Free to surrender your mind and body as fully and completely as you would want to into the surface that supports you, allowing gravity to do what it's designed to do, and the sound of my voice to continue to guide you. Deeper and deeper now. That's right, just letting go. Deeper is simply that word we hypnotists use as an invitation to become more absorbed in your own relaxation response, allowing your imagination to guide you. 2. Nothing more you need to do, nothing you need to try to make happen. You simply allow yourself to have this experience with a curious and open mind, trusting that powerful mind of yours to guide you in a gentle yet powerful way to precisely the level of hypnosis you would need to experience today. And as you let go, 1, perhaps feeling more at one with this increasingly wonderful feeling, allowing you to float down through 0, so gently, so peacefully, so deeply, into the deep sleep of hypnosis. Off you go. That's right. Aware yet unaware. The temporary I don't care sort of attitude for anything out there. Just drifting and floating, luxuriously, exquisitely, peacefully, deeply. And I wonder if you might wonder how wonderful it would be to consider that right now, here with me, you could offload, let go, any measure of anything that you've been holding on to, that you might find might bring you value to just say no to. So I invite you to follow me, remembering that real or imagined is all the same to your incredibly powerful subconscious mind. Bringing your attention to your right arm and hand, making a fist with that hand, close it tight. Extend the arm out in front of you. And as I count from 5 to 0, what would it be like to imagine that that right arm has temporarily become a siphon of sorts? And as I count from 5 to 0, we're going to siphon out of the right side of the body any measure of any of that shit show you've been holding on to that you really want to let go of. 5, pulling it out of that right foot, ankle, calf, knee, and thigh. Everything you've been running from, that you wake up every day and it's just right there. All that frustration and irritation, siphon it out, put it in that right arm and hand. Excellent. 4, pulling out of that right hip, pelvis, low back, and belly. Anything that's been making it difficult to put one foot in front of the other each day, to move forward in a way that you would want to. Siphon it out. 3, pulling from the internal organs, pulling from the muscles of the spine, pressures and tensions from the last 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, decades if you wish. You might find that right arm and hand seem to get heavy in some way, gummy or thick, however you imagine that tension you're siphoning out to be. This is your hypnosis. Do it playfully. 2, as you really lift and push that arm away from you, you're pulling out of that right shoulder, upper back, and neck, all of the burdens of life you've been carrying, everything you've had to shoulder, the responsibilities. In Chinese medicine, the right side of the body is the masculine. It's all that we do. It's obligations, responsibilities, ambitions, goals, money, survival, resources, work, all the pressures of all that you have to do. So to whatever degree you wish to be free, go ahead and siphon it out now. Let it hold in that arm. And 1, pulling from behind that right eye, temple, the back of the head, the neck, the lips, the tongue, the jaw, just siphon out from behind the eyes all of that pressure that could in any way make it difficult to meet the challenges of daily living each day, more joyfully and playfully, perhaps even humorously. Siphon out that pressure. And you might find that right arm and hand are feeling in some way different, curious, hypnotically strange. And when you're ready, take a deep breath in and hold. Hold that breath, hold it. And 3, 2, 1, 0, exhale, drop it, release it, let it go. Shake it out. Those feelings are natural and normal, but you don't want them anymore. You don't need them anymore. And you're here to let them go. And how lovely would it be to let that pressure just release, where you may find that naturally your vital life force and energy can flow more freely through that side of the body. And you can relax a bit more deeply into this good feeling that you are feeling. You may even notice a slight difference, or perhaps a significant one, between the right side and the left side. But don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging. So bring your attention over to that left side and make a fist with that left hand. And you know what we're doing now. Isn't it great? And 5, we're going to pull out that left foot, ankle, calf, knee, and thigh. This time we're going to pull all the frustrations and irritations of everything that you've been running toward, that you really want, that seems frustratingly far away. Go ahead and just siphon that out. Let it hold in that left arm. That's right. 4, we're going to pull out that left hip, pelvis, low back, and belly. And this is the part of the body where oftentimes we hold shame and guilt. And I don't know if it's cultural or religious or sexual or societal or familiar. It doesn't really matter. Just allow your unconscious mind to siphon free all of what you would wish to just let go of. You don't even really need to know the where and the why and the how. Just allow it to happen at the unconscious level. 3, pulling from the internal organs, pulling from the muscles of the spine, pressures and tensions of any kind, from any time that could in any way inhibit your ability to see the positive possibilities available to you in any area of life. And that left arm and hand starts to get heavy, curiously, playfully, hypnotically heavy. Gummy, rigid, or thick, however you imagine it to be, as you siphon that tension from the body. And at 2, you're going to really lift that left arm, push it away from you, where you're really pulling out of the left side, the upper back, shoulder, and neck, all of the burdens of life you carry on this side of the body. And in Chinese medicine, the left side is the feminine. It's all that we are. It's our emotional self, intuitive self, creative self. The part of us that is designed to learn to receive the goodness of life joyfully, easily. And so to whatever degree you've been holding any blocked energy there, any pressures of life, just pull it out. You're doing great. And at 1, we're going to pull that pressure from behind the left eye, temple, jaw, the back of the head, neck, lips, and tongue. Pressure that could in any way make it difficult to fall asleep, stay asleep, go back to sleep. Just pull that pressure out. I'm going to ask you to hold that arm like that. and slowly push it away from you, where you're really pulling out a lifetime of shame, blame, regret, remorse, guilt, frustration, irritation, resentment. I don't know, but your unconscious mind knows better than you or I how to use this opportunity. And that left arm again gets increasingly hypnotically, strangely heavy. Maybe it weighs somewhere between 2 and 20 pounds, somewhere between 20 and 200. But there's a reason I want you to hold it. And that is because this experience today is first and foremost designed to help you remember that you and you alone are the spiritual authority of your mind and body, free to live according to your own sense of morality and integrity. And in every experience, there is a moment of choice, and you are a being of voice, choice, power, and authority over what you choose to hold on to and what you choose to let go of what has control over you and what you have control over. So in a moment, you're going to have a choice. This is nothing I can do for you. You have your own hypnotic fuck it bucket now. Comes in every size, eco-friendly, biodegradable. All you need to do is just conjure one, imagine it, and it's just right there. So yeah, chuck it in the fuck it bucket. Let it go. Give a giggle, give a laugh, and see how good it feels to remember that you and you alone are your own spiritual authority, and that no memory, no experience, no substance, no thought, no belief should have control over you. You have begun to take a measure of control in some area that is important to you. And you shake that arm out, let it go. Feel the pressure coming off. That's right, and you can let that arm relax. Just take a moment to notice how different you might feel. Perhaps you set an intention for yourself to go in a different direction in some way. Maybe from time to time, you take a step back and breathe. Step into your observer mind. Curious, open, breathe, assess. Decide how you want to feel and begin again. Perhaps as a result of this hypnosis, you find yourself doing more of what's right for you, what's right there for you, what just feels right. Perhaps you find yourself exploring more of what's left in life to explore, something that you may have left off to one side that's been waiting for you. Or perhaps you simply find it easier to go forward now to what you look forward to. Now, in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 5, and we'll bring you back to the present moment, feeling refreshed, feeling amazing. Perhaps holding this feeling with you longer than your thinking mind could have ever once thought possible. 1, slowly and calmly coming back to the present time and place. 2, at your own pace, coming back to the present time and space. 3, take that refreshing, effervescent breath. Just lets you know that even if things aren't ideal right now, just trusting they're somehow going to work out ideally for you. 4, coming back feeling better than before, feeling better than better, feeling great. And 5, opening your eyes, present and alert to a non-suggestible state. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Bada bing, bada boom. There it is.
Let us know how that was for you. And if you're experiencing this and it's not live, you can always let us know in the comments on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you happen to be seeing this, eventually Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you happen to see this, let us know what your experience was like, because you know what? This was an awesome session, and I was focused on the different alliterations, the different things that you just kind of tossed in there, and the rhyming and all of those pieces weaving together, and being very, very descriptive about how things get pulled out of your body and then released. And I'm sure there were some people that had heard a swish when it went into the bucket, and maybe some hit a rim shot, maybe it bounced off the wall and dropped in. Like, let us know.
I love it. I like that idea. I do love alliteration. Sometimes I swear I'm like channeling Dr. Seuss. I'm like, damn, I should have recorded that. That would have been a really good one to write out for future use.
Yeah, it's always when you least expect it, and it comes up, and it's like, oh man, what did I say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get it. All right, back to the chat here. Becca says she missed some parts of it, so she'll listen back again. She loves your voice; it's so calming.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. We are.
Sammy is back inside, and he is just he is out.
You got to love those virtual sessions when the cat or the dog comes in and the client is laying there and they're just like totally in their space. And the cat comes like right up to the camera. And then the next thing you know, they just settle in like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cats and dogs live at that. Like their brains are just so tuned into that. I actually even had a bird once that got in on the act along the way. And it's like, okay, bird, you don't need to compete with me, but glad my voice is doing it for you. So it's amazing. Animals have their own way about them for sure. Yeah. Scott says, always be recording.
Yes. Thank you for that reminder.
Yep. And Becca says,
smiley face.
Yes, I'm good. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
This has been awesome. And if you have anything new that's coming out that you want to launch, let us know. We'd love to have you back on here again. Yeah.
I was going to say for a second there, I almost went, do you have any shows that are coming up? And I went, wait, no, she doesn't do performing stuff.
Well, maybe not shows, but any we talked about Hypnothoughts. Any other conferences that you're presenting at or looking at?
Yes, I'm going to be at the Hypno Expo in Florida in May. And there I'm going to be teaching a free 2-hour training on my 2 minds technique. And that is leveraging conscious awareness during the hypnosis process. So we're going to be going into how you can use that. It works especially well with very analytical clients or people who really like to be in the dominant position. They're like, she's going to tell me what to do. They come in, they want the hypnosis, but they still resist a little bit. So it works with both styles beautifully. And incidentally, Brian, I came up with this technique when we had a dog. And I was watching a lot of Cesar Millan doing his dog training. And so
okay. I was kind of like, I'm like, waiting for the connection, but
dog. So I had a dog. And so I brought in like some awareness of how you train dogs to how to leverage the conscious mind and what we do with it, how we station it for hypnosis.
Yeah. Just a regular therapist that I was seeing through the VA. He and I he's probably one of the greatest people that I've ever met. And when he had to move away for, family purposes and stuff like that, like I cried uncontrollably, like at our last session together. Cause I was like, this is the first time I've not wanted to come do a session. But I remember one of the things that he told me, he's like, Brian, the big dog at the dog park doesn't have to bark and tell everybody that it's there or that it's a big dog. He goes, you see a lot of the smaller dogs yapping and making a big fuss. And then as soon as someone like looks at them, they go run and haul ass away. But yeah, the Cesar Millan stuff is kind of interesting. And with folks that like want to be in control of everything, it's like, well, you're in control. You decided to be here. You decided to pay good money because you want to make a change that's going to improve your life or productivity. Insert title here. And it's like, do you tell the dentist how to clean your teeth? No, you lay back, you put the sunglasses on, and you just relax. I
literally tell clients, look, don't play along and fake it just to please me, and don't resist and fight me, because either way, you're going to pay me. You get some good laugh, and they're like, yeah, you're right. It's a good priming at the very beginning of the session.
Yeah, we said that in stage hypnosis too. We get paid for the attempt. So if the clients are the clientele is too drunk or too rowdy, or it's in a really loud venue of with other stuff going on, we do what we can, but ultimately it's still up to the clients to participate. So
that's right.
100%. All right. Well, we are on, Brian and I, the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. So until we get to that fourth Tuesday.
That fourth Tuesday, that's going to be a couple of days before Thanksgiving.
Right.
Here in the United States.
For those of the people in the United States, yes. Canada, we've already done it.
I was going to say it's Thanksgiving, the weekend, Black Friday, Amazon Tuesday, and Cyber something, and a whole lot of football.
Yeah. If that stresses you out, I know some great hypnotists that you can see that would definitely be able to help you with that.
I am not stressed in the slightest. I do not have to go fight with. I don't have to get into arguments with family members over politics, the state of world affairs, and things like that. There's no drama. It's going to be super quiet. I will probably pop over to a couple people's houses. Just, hi, how are you doing? I'll grab something to eat and hang out for a bit, and then it's going to be kind of stay off the roads.
Nice.
So
always a good idea at the end of November.
Yeah, I don't have to rush for flights or anything. It's going to be great.
Yep. All right. I think that wraps everything up.
We stayed on time for once.
Yes, impressively on time. So on behalf of all of us, take care, stay well, be awesome. Have a good night.